Me and Vlad continued to hang out a lot for the next little while, and had even said something rather odd once to me. Don't forget to hit subscribe and smack that bell button to become an honorary Fear-Raiser member so that you never miss a video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this new animated story. And speaking of interesting stories, this video was brought to you by the new anticipated game, The Spy Who Shrunk Me, the incredibly fun stealth game where you are a spy armed with a shrink ray. Taking place in Moscow pending the Cold War, you must uncover grave secrets with your armed banana peels, airbag mines, and capability to shrink enemies and do as you wish with them. Be sure to play The Spy Who Shrunk Me, that is now out on Steam, and if you sign up early, you get a discount. So be sure to check it out on Steam, link down in the description below. Now, I'm sure you've heard of many great spy stories out there in life. From James Bond to G-Force. Hey, wait a minute. Who wrote this? And they usually tend to lead to the heroes, aka the spies, infiltrating some sort of other country or secret operation that's gonna destroy humanity, or just kind of ends up beating a lot of the bad guys and just getting with the ladies. Pretty ladies, like the antagonist in today's sponsor, The Spy Who Shrunk Me. A humorous spy game where you are the protagonist, Miss Andre Smooth Spy. But have you ever heard of a spy story that takes place in school? Wait a second. Okay, let me rephrase. Have you ever heard of a spy story that takes place in school about a boy befriending a spy? No? Well, sit back and relax because today, I've got a brand new story for you. Growing up, I was never one to have the most confidence in my looks. Puberty, unfortunately, took its sweet time with me, and well, I also happened to not have the greatest metabolism, so it didn't take a whole lot to get chubby. And yes, I was a chubby kid. As a kid, none of this really used to affect me in the slightest, until I made my way to junior high, which was where things really started to change for me. A place where boys turn to men and girls turn into women of absolute beauty. Who, let's be real, all guys end up just putting on pedestals. Regardless, things certainly took a dramatic turn with junior high. Now guys, level with me here for a second. When you go through puberty, is it not a fact that everything around you just begins to change? Like the way you see the world, the way you see the people around you, like it all just starts to feel a little different. In fact, I would even compare the whole process to Pokemon. You know, they start off with their small form, which is like when you're a kid, and then you level up to the middle form, which is like, you know, puberty, and then of course your adult form, which is the last form you've got. But rather than leveling up and getting awesome new abilities, you just kind of get anxiety and some self-awareness, and I guess you just care a lot about other people's opinions all of a sudden. Look, the point I'm trying to make here is when you go through puberty, things change, for sure. And a lot more than you'd think. Girls who I was friends with suddenly became attractive to me, and a lot of my guy friends were changing from boys who talk about games to guys who talk about games and girls. Oh, the humanity! What has happened to our sweet, innocent minds? But for real, this was a weird transformation that I was quite aware of, and as much as I can't speak for girls here, I'm sure it was no different for them too. With all of these new changes happening to me in junior high, I had slowly become more and more aware of myself and my own self-image, as the need to feel appealing and attractive had slowly grown to an all-time high. Suddenly, the version of myself in the mirror went from the boy who didn't seem to care or know much better about himself to the boy who cared a lot about his looks and worried a lot about what other people thought. It was a bit of a mess. And I'm sure many of you out there have felt or still feel that way. We care way too much about what other people think of us, and you know, it really just isn't healthy. It builds up insecurities, we start to lose confidence in ourselves, but the worst thing about it is we keep things to ourselves and let things fester. And these are the reasons why it's so much harder for people to talk about these things and ask for help, because guys, deep down we all have insecurities, and having them doesn't make you any less you than anyone else, you know, we're all the same. So you definitely don't want to keep that in and let that build up. So be sure to talk to someone about it. Nervous and a bit of a wreck alongside my classmates who I'm sure were no different, I had become a junior high student with the mindset of an overthinking, weird kid who was now attracted to girls and couldn't keep a conversation going without it getting a little awkward. Yeah, not the greatest of times, until I met Vladislav. Now, who was Vladislav, you're asking? Well, he was our new foreign exchange student in our class, and man, was he an interesting character. Straight from Moscow, Vladislav had for the first time ever come to Canada, attending our junior high, while I for the first time ever had met someone who was from Russia. Stern and quiet at first, Vladislav had certainly seemed to have quite a reserved look about him when he first started attending our classes. But with time, got all the attention from school once people started to find out that he was from Russia. Now back then, for me anyways, seeing a foreign exchange student was typically pretty rare. I mean, this was kind of back in the time where we still had to go on computers at school to use the internet, and our phones weren't really that great. You know, we didn't have touchscreens, we had flip phones! Do I even have my flip phone still? I can't find it. But look, the point is, you know, it was just something you didn't see often back then for us. And meeting people from other parts of the country, let alone a whole other country in general, was just, was a pretty exciting experience. Knowing that Vladislav was from Russia just made me really want to get to know him, ask him questions, and overall just say that I befriended someone from Russia. And with that in mind, pushed me harder to get to know him better. So one day during lunch, I decided to sit next to him at the cafeteria and meet his acquaintance. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were talking almost every day at lunch. Vladislav had the look of a stern, cold guy, but as the old saying goes, never judge a book by its cover. I was proven to be mistaken, as Vlad had a kind charm and a welcoming vibe to his personality, which was something I really wasn't used to seeing at our school. Vlad had also been gifted with good looks, and many of the girls in junior high all seemed to want his attention. But weirdly enough, he never really reciprocated in a flirty way back. Almost more like a friendly acknowledgement to their gesture. Perhaps he didn't realize they were flirting with him? I don't know. But regardless, he certainly had the charm, and the girls in our school wanted to be his. Bearing witness to something like this back in junior high was a pretty strange thing to see. I mean, all the guys in junior high, they want to impress the girls. It's that transition phase. And I mean, if you're getting the attention from the girls and the hot girls, it's like, what are you doing? Of course you want to indulge in that and be a part of that. And girls, don't be making those faces. We know that you are the exact same way. I know, I see you looking at those good-looking dudes in junior high. It's the same way. We're both the same people, okay? We both got the same values, it's just different. You know, we're all different, but yet we're all the same. But anyways, Vladislav just didn't seem interested. And maybe he just wasn't interested in general, but whatever the case may be, it was definitely a strange thing to see in junior high. With all the attraction and attention he was getting, it was certainly starting to make me more self-conscious about myself and my looks, as I just felt like a ghost around this guy. Every time I was with Vladislav, he got a bunch of attention while I just stood there, and it made me feel like I was shrinking more and more, feeling almost like a nobody, and it was certainly affecting how I felt. One day, after many months of this, while also growing closer as friends, I had confessed to him how I felt about my looks and insecurities, and how all of this was making me feel so small and worthless. To my surprise, however, it was at this point where he had explained to me the power of self-worth and self-love. With a very deep conversation happening at the cafeteria, he had shown me a lot about myself and how it doesn't matter what other people think. Vladislav explained that he never got any attention at all by any girls in Russia, and never felt great about himself. With a lot of positive self-talks and a lot of self-help books, he didn't need the attention of others anymore because he was confident enough in his own skin, and that was all he needed. He also explained that he was forced to mature young because no one really seemed to care for his well-being at all. And it didn't really sound like his parents seemed to care a whole lot about Vlad either. So it was very clear that Vlad had to become an adult a lot quicker than most of us at the time. Quite the surprising turnout, to say the least. It was during this moment in time I realized that not everything is quite as it seems. Here I am thinking Vladislav had it all. He had the looks, he had the attention, he had the girls. But deep down, Vlad was sadder than I was. And from it all, had to mature faster than the majority of us. It was during this single moment in the cafeteria where I had been shown a new perspective with my self-image in my life. It wasn't something that happened overnight, but throughout the next few months and years, I carried that knowledge onto myself, learning more about how to be a happier person in my own skin, and being proud and confident in how I look and who I am. Me and Vlad continued to hang out a lot for the next little while, and had even said something rather odd once to me, claiming that he could be a spy from Russia gathering information. But I mean, who's gonna believe a junior high student that said that? Like, come on. However, not too long after, Vladislav had mysteriously vanished and supposedly moved back to Russia. I never really got the chance to say thank you or goodbye to him, but I'll never forget what he taught me that day. But sometimes I do wonder, was he a spy? I guess I'll never know. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this new animated story. And speaking of interesting stories, this video was brought to you by the new anticipated game, The Spy Who Shrunk Me. The incredibly fun stealth game where you are a spy armed with a shrink ray. Taking place in Moscow pending the Cold War, you must uncover grave secrets with your armed banana peels, airbag mines, and capability to shrink enemies and do as you wish with them. Be sure to play The Spy Who Shrunk Me, that is now out on Steam, and if you sign up early, you get a discount. So be sure to check it out on Steam, link down in the description below.